Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yo, dude, I am excited. Guess what? This is episode 1 of Movie Match. I'm so excited. I'm here with my brothers, and we getting ready to do this thing. But before we get started, listen, I need you to hit that subscribe button that's at the bottom of this video. Please hit that notification bell. So when you hit that notification bell, it will let you know when we have a new video that has been posted. And when you have time also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, follow us, like us, do what you need to do, because guess what? We want to hear from you. We want to have conversations with you, see what you think about the movies that we're talking about. And you know, we're gonna have some fun, man. We want to get to know you. We want to have some good discussions, debates, whatever it is, because guess what? We are not all going to agree on the same movies and the same things, but you know what? We want to hear from you. Nothing but positive vibes. You know, we're not going to be disrespectful to each other, but we're going to have nothing but positive vibes and everything.
All love, baby. All love.
Come on, man. We're going to have some fun, man. So, man, you know what? I'm going to let my brothers go ahead and introduce themselves, and we're going to get this party started. So, what's up?
Roman?
What's up? I am D. Roman, one of the 3 of the Movie Match team. I am excited and ready to discuss this movie topic.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And I'm Jelani82, like it says on the screen. Your Movie Match, man. We're here to set the internet on fire with our movie takes. One of the reasons why we call it Movie Match is because typically our opinions don't match with majority of people, which you're going to see as you watch. There's certain movies that a lot of people hate that we actually love. And there's certain movies that people love that we're like, y'all really like that? Like, that movie was really good to y'all? So we're going to set the internet on fire. And, you know, if y'all watched our promo, we said that we're going to invite some people. We may invite you to the show to debate why you hate movies that we love or why you love movies that we don't. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, but it's always going to be respectful, and it's all love. So stay tuned.
Good time. I'm ready.
All right. Yep. All right. So let's get started. So first movie, well, it's the only movie we talk about. The main topic of this first episode is Coming to America 2. So
to America.
To America. So I'm just gonna give a quick synopsis of the movie. So we have Prince Akeem from Zamunda and Lisa McDowell opens up the movie. They're celebrating their 30th anniversary. Oh yeah,
still
still fine. Yep.
She in her 50s.
She in her 50s?
She don't look 50.
Yeah. Oh. She's 56. I'm looking at it right now.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. I mean, I guess they say black don't crack. I guess I don't know. I didn't know she was. Well, I mean, 30 years passed. So yeah, that makes sense. So we have Prince Akeem. You know, summoned by his dying father, King Joffrey Joffrey, also Mufasa. And I guess
both movies.
Yeah, and then
and Darth Vader. Darth Vader too.
Darth Vader.
The voice.
Right. And so he realized, I guess, his Charmin or whatever it is, that ugly looking dude. Oh, his name is, but
the witch doctor dude?
Yeah, witch doctor dude. Man, they made him as hideous as they could possibly make him. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck?
Yep. So finds out that he has a bastard son, right? He kept calling him bastard son, and went to America to go pull him, bring him back, make him a prince, because I guess what's his name, General Izzy. He said, "Look, Wesley. You know, you're Wesley Snipes. You know." So he has to, I guess, he has to have a son as an heir because no women are allowed to take over, I guess. And so just the whole thing with him trying to get his son, and if Akeem didn't find a successor, General Izzy will, you know, he wanted to, I guess, have war with Zamunda, et cetera, but then also he has to deal with his daughter, who was training the whole time to be his successor, but it wasn't because they had her to marry, I guess, to somebody who will become king, and it was just a whole mess. So that's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. So let's talk. I don't know who wants to go first. What are your thoughts on this movie? I mean, what is your first thought when you watch it? What did you like about the movie the most? Let's start with that. What did you like about the movie the most?
I'm gonna let you go first, Jerry.
Okay, so what did I like about the movie? Well, as most people know or may not know, Coming to America is the initial one is my absolute favorite movie of all time. And I'm just going to show you evidence. Like I have the shirt in my drawer. Y'all see that?
There we go. It's kind of going back and forth.
It's because of the background. But it's the Randy Watson. It's a Randy Watson shirt. And then I got another one somewhere in here. And I should have had it ready, but whatever. I have a Soul Glow t-shirt as well from the movie. So the first Coming to America movie is my absolute favorite movie of all time. I've seen it, and I'm not even exaggerating. I've seen it about 30 times. Now it's crazy because when it initially came out, I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. But I had older cousins who went to Blockbuster Video. Some of y'all young folks don't know anything about that because everything is digital now. But we used to actually have to go to Blockbuster and rent it, rewind it before we took it back. But I've seen the movie dozens of times. I know it like the back of my hand. So coming into this movie, I had high expectations. And the first thing is when I heard it was going to be PG-13, it kind of brought my expectations down, because part of the reason why the original is so funny is because there's a raunchiness to it. But I understand that nowadays with the climate, the way the climate is, you have to be real careful about what you say, about who you offend, which a part of me understands that.
Right.
But then again, that's part of what made the first one so great. So when you're going from a rated R film that was a classic, when you cut it down to PG-13, that means you have to temper what made the first one work so well in the first place, which is kind of the same thing with The Expendables, which is, one of those films that most people don't like that I love. The first two, I should say. But the first two were rated R. The third one was PG-13. And I was just like, I still didn't hate it, but just the goriness of the first two is what I loved about it. The action wasn't tempered down. It was just, well, this ain't church. It was balls to the wall, like I had to think, because I had to remember that, this ain't that. So it's balls to the wall, just gory. So back to Coming to America. So that was one of the things that I had to go in and just keep in mind. Okay, this is not rated R. This is not rated R. So going into it, my initial thoughts were the movie was fine. Like, it wasn't trash. It wasn't, it definitely had things in there that I could appreciate as a fan of comedy. And that's another thing. Comedy is my favorite genre of movies. I love superheroes. I love action. Not really big on horror, but comedy is my favorite genre. And when the PG-13 comedy is really hard to really nail, so the movie was fine. I don't think that it was bad. I don't think it was great. It was fine. So what I liked about the film, first and foremost, I'm a big fan of nostalgia when it's done correctly. So I love the callbacks to the original. Towards the end of the movie, I don't know if you want to do a spoiler tag here, just for who hasn't seen it yet. Like towards the end of the movie, when he brought back Randy Watson, when he brought back the twins that were in the club, that was hilarious. Like Randy Watson singing "We Are Family." That's literally the part where I cracked up the most, was towards the end. And then with the one barber who from back then was like, "That boy good." He was the first one standing up and clapping when he saw Randy Watson come in. So that part I love. The whole barbershop scene, that was just, those guys, they picked it right where they left off. Like, they started calling them, remember in the first one, they were just like, hey, Kunta Kinte, but 30 years have passed and so much stuff has gone on in Africa now. So they start calling them Blood Diamond and Mufasa and Kunta Kinte and Ebola and all that stuff. Yeah. All that stuff was hilarious. Then when the one guy, he went a little too far, was like, please, oh no, you went too far with that. You gotta get on my chair. Like, that was hilarious. You know what I'm saying? So those kind of things, the chemistry between I'm about to say Martin and Will. Jesus, this ain't Bad Boys. The chemistry between Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall is still there. I liked the fact that there was one scene where he asked him, what would your mother do in this situation? Because you remember his mother was kind of the one that changed the tide of the first movie to where he couldn't marry. He didn't have to go into an arranged marriage, but he actually married who he wanted. He actually followed his heart. So that callback to say, what would your mother do? To me, that triggered that thought in Eddie Murphy's mind was like, my mother would be of the opinion that a person should follow their heart rather than follow what tradition says to do. So that was a part of the movie that probably resonated with me the most. I don't know, that's going a little bit forward into, you know, one of the segments, but that's the biggest part of the movie to me, is like, you don't have to always follow tradition, you know, and I think that theme in both movies were prevalent here. So that's what I like most about it. Another callback is when his son was in the what was it? He's in a job interview with Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live, and he had the two rich guys up there, the one that they gave the money to. Yeah. They actually used it. It showed you that they used that money that he gave them to build an empire, and he passed it down, you know, to his generation. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, you know, they went back to the club scene and they did like a different vantage point. You know, the CGI, you can kind of tell that the CGI was a little wonky on their face to make them younger. It was creepy
as hell. I ain't like when I saw that, it was creepy.
They looked a little scary, but
I wish people would just stop doing that. Like, it was
it was almost Gemini Man creepy.
Yeah.
So that was a little creepy.
Yeah. I mean, if it was just like a picture, and I think that's one of the mistakes, you know, is like when it's just a picture, or if you don't de-age them as much, it's not as bad, you know. But, you know, Eddie Murphy's almost 60 and you de-aging him 30 years, you know, it's like, and then when they move, that's when
he's really chunkier. You can't get away from that. He's chunkier, bro. Like,
exactly.
He's not skinny Eddie. He's not Eddie with the black tights, the red Michael Jackson costume from Delirious.
And that's why that's why the CGI and that's why the CG in, I mean, even though I didn't really like the movie like that, but the CG in Captain Marvel for Samuel Jackson's face, it wasn't as bad because they didn't de-age him so much, and it helps that he still looks good for somebody in their 70s. You know what I'm saying? He didn't gain a bunch of weight or whatever. He's still pretty, you know. So they didn't de-age him 30 years. You know, they just made him look a tad bit younger.
And you know one thing with this, the CGI too, it's like if you look at it, it was way too smooth. Like black people have texture, right? They have texture to the skin, but it looks so smooth. I'm like, dude, you almost look like a cartoon. I'm like, this don't look good. So I was like, why would they do that? You know, add some texture. At least you know, some marks or something. The man came from Africa, man. So you know, he had some sun on him or something. Like,
exactly.
As a matter of fact, he looked better in this scene in the club than he did in the original scene.
Right.
Like, like, how do you look better in terms of your skin looks flawless?
They made him look too good.
Like the juices and berries were like working overtime.
Exactly.
It was working way too well.
Yeah, like the juices and berries.
The juices and berries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what about you?
All right. So for me, the only thing that I liked was the callback, seeing old faces. Like, that's the only thing that I like. Other than that, like, it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to follow up a classic like Coming to America. Like, literally, I felt like that film, as a comedic film, was just flawless in everything. Like, the story, you know what I'm saying? The story wasn't like too far-fetched. Everything in the first Coming to America, it fit. Even like how you're mentioning with the Dukes, like they even brought in people from Trading Places with him and Dan Aykroyd, and they kind of tied those stories. It was just, to me, that first film was like amazing. So in Coming to America 2, like I didn't have high expectations. Like, I went in very low because I did not want to be disappointed at all. Like, I came into it like, I don't know how good it's going to be, especially when you mentioned the PG-13 thing. I was like, you know, some of the things, you know, that they did in the previous movie, like, it still holds up and it's not crazy offensive. You feel me? Like, that film still holds up, as you can put that on the big screen right now and people will go to the movies to watch it.
Oh, yeah, I know I would.
Yeah.
So when this one came out, pretty much the only thing that I like is that we saw old faces. You know what I'm saying? And even that, like you mentioned with the CGI, I'm like, bro, you're making them look young. For what? Like I don't know. When we get to dislikes, I guess we go further. But the only thing that I like was some of the nostalgia, some of the, you know, those same scenes. Like, honestly, like, bro, those cats to live that long would be. I already felt they were like 80 years old in the last movie.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for them,
They were put there for nostalgic purposes.
Tales
Yeah,
from the Crypt. Like, yo, y'all
Like,
not dead yet?
Y'all
Like,
fools ain't dead.
they had to be.
I get like, I'm
He
thinking
said
that.
John Lewis was 137 years old when they fought. Now they was 137 years old.
Like, y'all went totally vegan? Like y'all took on the
Something.
vegan way to
Or
outlive. They outlived the king. Like
Right.
straight up, and I'm pretty sure he's eating fresh food.
Yeah, he's coming from. Yeah, he's a king, and he died in these New York
I
pizzas.
think they probably put him in a hyperbolic chamber. What them chambers called?
Yeah,
The ones
I was
that they
like,
put
I was
in
gonna find
cryogenic sleep or something. Like, okay, my turn. So okay, I agree with both of you guys. I mean, and the only reason why I really like the film, or probably one of the reasons why I like the film, is that they even made a film, Coming to America 2, because this was like long overdue, and I just appreciate the fact that they said, you know what, let's just do this with the pandemic and different things like that. And outside the film, the mere fact that it provided 6,000 jobs, you know, to people who are, you know, job market is really bad right now. And I mean, that's just for that one reason. As pertains to the film itself, like Jelani mentioned, nostalgia, that was awesome. I love that, the callbacks. You know, we see different faces, and then some of the newer faces that we've seen that, you know, getting to know. And I get why they made the movie, because, you know, they wanted to, or made it PG-13 because they wanted to kind of get a new crowd involved. I kind of compare it to what Star Wars did, even though the original people who watched the original Star Wars was like, what in the world is 1, 2, and 3? I mean, I was one of those people. But the thing is, you've seen the bigger picture where those who watched the first 3, it made them interested to see what happened with 4, 5, and 6, and with the other movies. So it brought in a whole nother set of fans to the Star Wars universe, because without 1, 2, and 3, some of the younger generations who didn't see 4, 5, and 6 wouldn't have been interested in 1, 2, and 3. So at least now, those who've seen like the Tiana Taylors or whatever, who they know in Coming to America 2, and they've seen the story of how it continued, they would and seen the callbacks and the different I guess look backs to the original movie. It makes them want to watch the first movie and to see, you know, how we got to this point. So that's one thing that I liked about it. Second thing,
your point,
go ahead.
but to your point, even with the Star Wars thing, like at least with Star Wars, when you bring in kids, you get a toys market, right? For Coming to America, you're not really expanding. You know,
you ain't gonna buy a toy in no Black King.
It's buy a King doll. You know.
So it ain't like it's a superhero. So it's like, if it was Black Panther, that's different. That's a superhero black person, but King Hakeem, I get you.
Well, I guess that's it's true. All in the attempt. I guess that's what they were trying to do. But and the wardrobe, I think, was like top notch. Like it was really,
and
I mean, the colors,
the production design was good too.
Yeah, production design was good. Shout out to Rick Ross for letting them use the house.
Rick Ross's house too.
Yeah, man.
Bro.
Yeah,
crazy. The lady that did the costumes for Black Panther is the one that did it for, and she won an Oscar for Black Panther, so that's why it was so good. And she did movies like Malcolm X back in the early '90s. So she did. So she's been doing it for a while. Her name is what's the Ruth Carter is her name. Ruth E. Carter is. So shout out to her.
Yeah, I love the fact that she had even with Mika when she was training with Akeem, and she had the Jamaican colors on. I was like, John Rock. I was like,
bro, I'm sorry. Hold on, time out. We're mentioning nostalgia, and I forgot the most important one that made me crack up is when Wesley Snipes' character first came to Akeem, and he said, "Yo, my sister has had a 30-year curse. She came and hopping in. So it's showing that she was been doing that for the past 30 years, dude. I was rolling. Yeah. That was another part. Yeah, that had me cracking up.
And they had her face looking all like. They had her face looking
pissed.
Yeah, they had her face. They had her face looking all like this. She was like, I was like, when she was wolf, and when she was like, "Hey, nice to see you," I was like, "Whoa."
That part had me cracking up though.
Yeah.
What you saying about the sister, Danny?
No, that I would have been hella pissed if that was my sister, bro. Like,
oh yeah,
me and Hakeem had to throw hands right then and there. Like, my sister walking around like a Nah,
Yeah,
bro.
but I think the reason why it's like he's more even though he says like he cares about his sister, but he's more concerned
Yeah,
about
he wanna.
being in
He wanted
you know,
power.
power,
Yeah,
right, more than
yeah.
his
Yeah,
sister. He was using that as like an excuse. So I mean, I was just like,
gotcha.
whatever.
I didn't even mean to interrupt, but I totally forgot to bring that part up. That part
Yeah.
had me cracking up too. So
Okay, well, since we're you know mention things we like, okay, I'll start with Danny. What don't you like about Coming to America?
Wow.
I
A
know
lot.
it's a lot. Okay,
see when you
okay,
start
A
like
lot.
that, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Let's
he about to
let's go.
go in on it.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Let's do it.
It's a lot because, and maybe we just go back and forth, whatever. But one of the biggest thing was that CGI scene. That right there, I was like, trying to, I guess, tie the story by fitting that scene in there. Like, I was like, you could have found a different way of doing it. But then, like, my biggest thing was that Hakeem wasn't Hakeem. Like, in the first movie, you saw him assert his beliefs, his will. Like, yo, I'm not bending to what my father desires for me. I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in this film, I felt like, bro, he was just like soft. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, he had the power to change rules as so his father did, but yet he wasn't even considering it. Like, he wasn't thinking about it. And then when Wesley comes around, he's like, yeah, you know what? Let me go look for my illegitimate child, like, so that I could take care of this issue. Like, why? You're the king. Like, real talk. Like, I felt like Wesley Snipes had his tail between his legs. Like, had it.
You mean
Like,
Eddie? You mean Eddie?
I was like, yo, man, this is not the Hakeem that I remember from the first film, and I think that was one of my biggest my biggest dislikes about the movie. I'll let somebody else chime in on something else.
Yeah, and before I chime in on what I didn't like, yeah, I agree with that point because you got to remember when in the first one when Samuel Jackson's character walked in with a gun. He went straight up to him, was like, yo, I'll be forced to thrash you. Like, I'm but then and like, you're the king. Like, you got an army behind you now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're not going to just come in here and just pump me just because, it don't work like that. I'm the king. I got more resources and you in my house. Like,
right. Like, really? You don't have to leave out of here. Like,
exactly.
You get out the doors.
You'll get out of here the way you danced in here. Like, real talk.
Exactly.
But the only thing I noticed, though, is like, well, initially when they came in, when General Izzy, King Izzy, but General Izzy came with an army, and they had sticks. But the thing is, when they're outside, they had these machine guns. But I'm like, but I was like, where is Zamunda? I haven't seen one machine gun in Zamunda like the whole entire movie. Like, but that's just neither here nor there. But I was just thinking about that. But what about you, Jay? What don't you like?
Okay, so first off, going back to Lax, I do think that Wesley Snipes was funny though. I ain't gonna lie. Like he had me cracking up in the scenes, which I didn't expect from him because he's usually action or whatever. But what I didn't like, I think my biggest dislike was the dude that played his son. Like, to me, it was just he was not funny at all. It didn't make me laugh. Like, didn't even make me chuckle. I'm like, and I know the guy as a comedian, Jermaine Fowler, typically, I've seen him on stuff online and he's funny. You know what I'm saying? Like he's done things to make me laugh. But, that doesn't always translate to you being funny in the film. Just like how you have good stand-up comedians and you put them in the movie, it's like, but then you have comedic people who do movies, but then you see their stand-up, you're like, oh man, that person's hilarious. So it's like the two don't always translate. So his son just didn't, and then when he tried to do the serious scenes, I'm like, it just wasn't convincing to me, man. Like he didn't really do it for me. And then another thing,
I heard that DC Young Fly went out for that role too, bro.
Oh, did he really?
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
So it might have been totally different if somebody like him, you know what I'm saying? Like, even the way his quirkiness and stuff like that, and like his expressions, it could have been something different, But
sometimes he can be a little bit over the top, though.
Yeah, that's true too. So
like, so it's like you got to know how to tone it down for certain parts, like the serious parts when he's talking to the little barber girl and a serious moment. I don't know if he's able to do that instead of having like how he just like, dude, just chill for just a little second, But I mean, I don't know how that translates, but I agree totally. Honestly, I think I think he was I think he was whack. I'm sorry. I
Son?
just I was just like, yo, I was like, out of all the black young actors, it's like they could find nobody else that could do better than this. I mean, even after you start filming and you watch the
they've
feedback.
done that before. They did that with Back to the Future.
Yeah, just like
When they wanted Michael J. Fox, they had this other dude, and they took him out.
Yeah, I was
They
like,
wanted Michael J.
Yeah, I was like, dude, why even keep this dude? And then another thing I didn't like, I just felt that a lot of the humor was kind of like they were like forcing it. It was like it didn't come, it wasn't organic, it wasn't natural. It flowed. Like how in part one, a lot of the comedy flow, because it was like they went over the top, and they did go over the top with it, but it kind of flowed in a way. Like the simple things, like when what's the name? Soul Glow parents were sitting on the couch and they got up and you saw all the juices,
the grease
on the chair. I mean, just little things that kind of make you chuckle, and just added on. It didn't feel organic. It felt like kind of forced, and a lot of the comedy that we saw it felt like it was repeated. Like they were trying to repeat the same things or go the same vein along the first one. So it wasn't any like originality. Like you want to see some new material, new things to laugh about. Not like, oh yeah, they did kind of the same thing in part one. Oh yeah, they did kind of the same thing in part one again. It wasn't like, okay, yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the Randy Watts callback. That was fine. Yeah. Saying a different song or whatever. Those things are fine, but don't do everything like that. If you think about some of the same jokes in the barbershop, they'll talk about boxing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing about one.
Like, why does he have to get married again? Like, why does it have to be centered around getting married the same way Hakeem, it was centered around him being married? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it could have been just him finding his son and
it could have been him building a relationship with his son.
Yeah.
Like, man, I lost so many years. How can I try to mend this relationship or get to know him instead of, oh, I just need him to marry? And then it just felt like you said, it was the same story, get married, become an heir, get married, become an heir. You know what I'm saying? Like, in order to rule, you have to get married and become king. Like, I just felt like they could have changed up the story in so many ways. And I don't think this is the first time somebody has come to Eddie, wanting to bring Duke Coming to America 2. And for this story to be the one that they were like, yeah, I'm satisfied with this story. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's do this. Let's rate this movie. All right. So you know how we do it, and just in case the people don't know, we're a movie match, and so we're gonna rate this movie a scale from 0 to 5 matchsticks. Okay.
Oh.
Let me start with you, Danny. What rating do you give this movie, Coming to America? Let's have it. How many matchsticks?
Y'all probably might hate me for this, which is okay. But honestly, I am giving it, I'm teetering between 1.5 and 2 matchsticks, but just for the sake of it.
Don't teeter, man. It's movie match, man.
Movie match.
Just rate it how you gonna rate it, man.
Rate it how you rate it. Rate it how you rate it.
I'm at like a 1.5 matchstick.
1.5. 1.5 matchsticks. Okay. All right. Jay, what you got?
Well, I understand the 1.5 matchsticks, but like I said, because I'm a fan, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. If it was just the quality of the movie as well, I would do the same thing. But because nostalgia kind of tugged at my heartstrings, like I said, the first one is my absolute favorite movie. I give it 1 point higher than that, and I'll go 2.5 out of 5.
2.5 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my rating, I was going back and forth with what it is, and the thing is, I was trying not to do what Jelani just did, is tie in the first movie to the second one, because,
like I said, that's why I said if it wasn't for that, it would have been 1 out of 5. But I'm a sucker, so I totally admitted why I did it. So it ain't like I'm front, but yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy is that my 1.5 is based off of the first film. So it could go, because I love the first film so much. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's up there in matchsticks. So if I have to compare it to the first one, Like, there's no way I could give it close to what the first one was, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. So okay.
What you got,
Well,
Rasheed?
okay. All right. So like I said, I was trying not to, but the thing is, I'm looking at that. Plus, I'm looking at I was looking the message behind the movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna get into after I give my rating, and then I'm gonna ask you guys what message behind the movie. But I gave it 3 matchsticks, dead even. And like I said, the
3?
message behind the movie, and I'm gonna give you my reasons why. Because I don't think the movie was great,
Right.
but I don't think it sucked either.
No.
And I think for the bigger picture, like despite all the comedy, the laughing, or whatever, if they didn't try so hard to be funny, I think it would probably be better if just the message of the movie. Because I saw a couple of things in the movie. Number one, and it go back to your point, how Akeem was, he was soft and everything or whatever. But I think that shows that with everything that he had to experience in order to get where he is now, is sometimes you can lose yourself and who you are. And in the movie, they had to constantly remind him, remember where you came from, remember how you got here. Remember that, you had to fight for, remember, Simba. Remember, he had to fight to get Lisa and what he had to go through, because he didn't want to be tied into tradition, but then yet he falls right back into tradition. And like Madge Sinclair's character, the Queen, rest in peace, Madge Sinclair.
And she was a queen on the Lion King.
On Lion King, right?
Yeah.
Remember, she was like, who am I to change tradition? She was like, well, you were a king. Like,
I thought you were king.
I thought you were king. You know what I'm saying? So, Akeem forgot that it was, that whole path that he had to take. That was number one. Number two, it showed the strength of women. How even though it tradition says that women are supposed to be in the background and different things like that, but she said no, women can be powerful, women can be strong. And for all of us, all three of us, we have daughters. That's something that we want to exemplify, to saying you don't have to be dependent on a man to be successful in this life. You can be strong, you can be a leader, you could be a ruler, and you could still walk in your femininity and but still be strong. You don't have to be in the background, you can be a leader. So I think with the message that comes behind that, even with Hakeem's son, he's following the same path as his dad. You know what I'm saying? Say, he's going against tradition to follow his heart. And I think that the message aspect of it kind of bumped up the rating for me. You get what I'm saying? If it was just based on a comedy, then I'd probably give it a -1.5. Like, you give me some matchsticks for that. But I think that was the main reason why I gave it a 3, because I like the message that it was portraying out, outside of what my dad said, the buffoonery. He said there was a lot of it, which is, the typical type of movies when you go to that avenue. But
see, but where you like the message, I also enjoyed the message, but I felt like it took too long for Hakeem to get there. Like,
right.
it didn't have to be the whole movie for him to get there. Like, we're all fathers to daughters, right? And from when she came out the womb, like, I wanted my daughter to be strong. I wanted her to understand her position in this world, and that she could be a leader, and right? And I felt like Hakeem missed that mark. Like, if he had 3 daughters, like, look at Kobe. Kobe was like, she's next. She said she's not next. Like, everybody will ask Kobe, like,
yo, you gonna have a son, to
take up the legacy. And he was like, his daughter was like, nah, bro, I got this. You know what I'm saying? And I felt like that could have been the same thing for his daughter. Like, straight up, she's gonna be queen. You don't need to find your illegitimate son to be like, no, he has to take up the mantle. Nah, you've been raising this girl up to be queen. Like, you know what I'm saying? You've only had daughters, and he should have already came to that conclusion way before. Like, it would have been good if he came to that conclusion way before, and him say, you know what, I still want to get to know my son. So I'm gonna look from, just for the sake of me wanting to get to know him. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where the movie fell short for me. Like, the end message was great, but there was just too. It just took too long for it to, at least for me, to get there.
And then, and then to your point, like you said, he had 3 daughters, and they were grown. You know, by the time he found out he had a son, and it was just kind of crazy that as soon as he finds out he has a son, he goes out of his way to try to find him and bring him in as king. It's like, what if you didn't know that you had a son? You would have still been raising up your daughters to, you know. And I think that was. I mean, I know, you know, rest in peace to the king. That's kind of trash on the king's part too, because he knew about the son for how long. You know, I'm not sure if this was in the movie, but if he knew about the son, but as soon as he's getting ready to die, him thinking, dang, he only has daughters. Let me tell him now, as opposed to telling him whenever. It's like, dude, if you could have told him before, you could have told him before, instead of raising his daughters to be, you know, to say, hey, I can become queen, or you know, I can become a ruler, you know, and then. But you know, once he has a son, okay, bet, you know, let's go get him. And it's like, you know, and the good thing is the movie kind of showed how she felt about it. You know, so they didn't just brush over the fact that, you know, they just did that, and she wasn't just like, oh, okay. She was like, but what about me? You know, so yeah.
And and to that point too, another dope thing about it was her character. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, honestly, I didn't understand this whole Prince trials or whatever, like the things that, like pulling whiskers from the lion and stuff like that. Like stuff like that, I was kind of like, oh, whatever. But just to show her and saying, yo, this is my brother, and I still want to see him, like, you know, succeed in that sense. When, you know, that was kind of dope that, you know, even in there, like sometimes, you know, you may feel like you're thrown to the side, but at the same time, you still have you still have the opportunity to show right character. You know what I'm saying? You still have the opportunity to show how you were raised, even though you may think it's here. Sometimes in life, we get dealt that hand, right? You know what I'm saying? Where we feel like we should be the person to take up whatever, but we get looked over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what are you going? What's the character that you're going to show in that? You know what I'm saying? And I think that right there showed so much in her response to what her father was doing, you know, was pretty big too.
Okay. Cool.
Message.
Yep. Exactly. So we're on our last segment, and we're gonna look ahead. I'm super excited for this week. On Thursday, we have.
Y'all see that spin, right?
Yeah, we saw the spin. We have Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, coming out on Thursday, which is the 18th. Oh, there you go. There you go. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for this movie, and so you know, I wanna talk to you fellas. You know, we're looking ahead to this, and I just want to know what your expectations. But before that, many people have asked me personally. They're saying, you know, didn't the Justice League come out? You know, why are they having another movie? Like, what's going on? They can't really make the connection. And you know, Jelani and I were talking about it. I think it was Friday past. So, Jelani, can you just kind of give everyone
seams here?
Yeah, just giving them just a little background on why another Justice League movie is being released. When one has already been released before. Like, what happened? What's going on with that?
Okay, so let's take it back. Let's go to the top of the segment. And this is one of the main reasons why we named this channel Movie Match, like I said, because we light the internet on fire with hot takes. For a majority of people, they love MCU and they think it's the best comic book movie franchise out there. Most people love it. We love it too. However, most audiences don't like the DCEU films, but we love it. When I tell y'all that Man of Steel is my all-time favorite comic book movie, that one, The Dark Knight, but Man of Steel made me love Superman. Like, I was already a fan of his. I thought he was just a cool character, but the way that that film really deconstructed him and showed how he has conflict as an alien, and we can go into this in another, but just the way that they showed how
review Man of Steel all by itself.
Yeah, we're gonna review it by itself. Yeah, but just to give you guys a background on why there's another, you know, but a lot of people didn't like Man of Steel. It was kind of split, but nobody really hated it. I mean, some hated it, some loved it, some people were in between. But then BVS came out, and it was just trashed by a lot of people. But then we went and watched it, and we're like, "What are y'all talking about? Like, this is exactly how this movie should be when you have an alien in the previous movie who's fighting another alien, you know, and level an entire city. Yeah, there's going to be half the world that's going to want him gone, and there's going to be another half that's saying no, he's a hero. So that kind of played well in that movie, but it didn't work for everybody. And I think a lot of that comes with expectation, you know, because Marvel was doing this over here, and whatever Marvel is doing is great. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But you know, they're trying to go a different direction, but it didn't work for everybody.
But to your point, before you go any further, you know, when Superman and Zod destroyed Metropolis, it was like all hell broke loose. But when the Avengers did it to New York, it was like,
right, exactly.
Tony and his team came in and cleaned it up. No, you know what I'm saying? You had the same amount of wreckage, you know, maybe one more than the other, but you still had casualties. You just didn't show your casualties in one genre, and the other you do.
Yeah, and that's where you just opening up a whole. And that's another thing. It's like there are stakes in these films. You know, like people. It shows you the ground level. Like people are literally running, scared for their lives. So in what Marvel did, but which again, you know, we're not saying Marvel sucks. We love those films too. But what they did, it shows you from the superhero's perspective on what's going on. But if you watch Man of Steel, where him and Zod are fighting, they go down to the ground level in some scenes, and you see people running from debris. You see people pulling people out the way. You know, I mean, Marvel does that sometimes, but the weight of it is not as heavy. When you have literally gods fighting, you know, in a sense, it's going to be casualties, and people don't. And Jesus, and people don't really understand. Like, you know, It's like to me, it was refreshing to actually see like heavy stakes in a film. But anyway, but like I said, it didn't work for everybody. So after BVS came out, it got a bad reception. Zack Snyder, who is the director of both, he started working on Justice League. And what they did was, because they wanted that Marvel success, they pretty much hired Jeff Johns, who's an excellent comic book writer. They hired him and another guy, John Berg, who was an executive at the time, to kind of babysit what Zack Snyder was doing, and they forced him to write certain jokes in, and they were pretty much babysitting him, and he had a lot of back and forth with the studio. And then unfortunately, you know, Zack's daughter passed away due to suicide, and he still continued to work on the film, but because that back and forth that was going, and then they wanted to bring in Joss Whedon, who was the director of the first two Avenger films, they wanted to bring him in to do some rewrites, but then what was happening is that he kept inserting things, and him and Zack kept going back and forth about it, to the point where Zack just didn't want to fight anymore, you know, because he had just lost a family member, you know, and his family really needed him. So he stepped away, and then they brought Joss Whedon in to complete the film. So even though the Justice League that came out in the theater still has Zack Snyder's name attached to it, when they brought Joss Whedon in, they literally, I want to say they shot, based off what I've been reading, they only used 10% what Zack Snyder shot initially, and they reshot most of the film. Now, he left the film in March of 2017. The film came out in November of 2017. So that's really not enough time to rewrite certain scenes, to shoot them and get the CGI up to par, which is why the CGI looks so bad in Justice League that came out in the theatrical cut. So
and even to that, when we see in BVS, when we see Steppenwolf, he looked nothing like he did in Justice League. Right. In Justice League, because in that scene where you see Lex with the mother box or whatever it was, and it was like forming Steppenwolf while he was in the water, like that's the same one that we're seeing now that's about to be released under, you know, Zack Snyder's cut. Like clearly you see the differences, but yet you were trashing Zack. People were trashing Zack for that Steppenwolf, and it wasn't even his.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like they were like going ham on him. I'm like, bro, that wasn't even his idea at first. We saw it clearly in BVS, which too, the director's cut was way better than the theatrical cut, because the director's cut in BVS, you know, explained more between scenes. right?
Yes.
But then you had the studio cut that down just for the theatrical version instead of putting out the full thing, right? And then again now you bring in Josh Whedon. Granted, he did great with I love the first Avenger. Age of
Oh yeah.
Ultron, not so much,
Yeah.
what I'm
Not so
saying?
much. Yeah.
He did great with the first Avengers. I absolutely love that film, but what he did with Zack Snyder's Justice League was just
Yeah.
that was highway
Yeah.
robbery, bro.
It was, and the thing about it is, look, initial reactions to the film, I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. I mean, I admit that, I was entertained by it, but then when you start to think back of Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, Justice League, it's like there's something that's off. Like
Disconnect.
the tone
It's a
really,
disconnect.
there's a disconnect between the two movies. So while it's entertaining, it was like it doesn't really connect to these, to the films, and one of the biggest retcons that they did was, if you remember in BVS where they had the emails showing what happened to each member, and you saw there was half a cyborg there, right? And you saw the mother box treating the rest of his body. When you go to the theatrical cut, you see Cyborg with a whole torso with pants on with just one metal. I'm like, that's a disconnect. And then you see Batman on the rooftop in the beginning of the theatrical cut of Justice League, and he's like, it's time to gather the team. When did he have time to grow a whole beard to go and track Aquaman all the way in Iceland? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things so you can tell that they added that first scene, and don't get me started on Superman's mustache. Listen.
Oh my goodness. Yo.
Listen, guys. So if you remember, Henry Cavill was shooting Mission Impossible. Fallout, which is a great movie, by the way. In between, when Tom Cruise hurt himself, that's when Henry had to go and do the reshoots for Justice League. But contractually, he had to have the mustache, so they had to CG out his face. Anytime you see the top of his lip look funny, it was all during the reshoots. And I've seen some behind the scene photos. And if Rasheen, I'll send them to you, and you can put them up here, where you see Cavill with the mustache, and he has tracking dots on his face, so that they can remove his mustache afterwards. So it was a total mess. So anyway, fast forward.
And the thing that upsets me is that Zack Snyder gets the flack for all
of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they put his name in as a director.
It's just crazy, bro.
And the thing is, I remember watching the Justice League movie, and after really sitting and thinking, it's like, there's once you watch a movie from front to back, you should be able to piece together the puzzle of the entire story and say, okay, this happened as a result of this and whatever. But a lot of and especially because they're making references to the previous movies, like the BVS and different things of that nature. A lot of times there's like you say, well, why did this happen when it happened here like this? And when you leave a movie with that much questions, you didn't really do a good job. And like you said, Zack Snyder got the flack for all of that when it wasn't really his doing. When originally his original had a lot more that will connect the story to BVS or even to Man of Steel. That's that whole entire time, because remember, even there was a part where in BVS, what I really liked about it is when they went back to the Zod and Superman fight, and they showed Bruce watching the fight, and that's the reason why he had such odds against Superman and wanted to kind of like find out who he is and to take him out, because it's not like, okay, he just appeared on the scene, I just want to take out Superman and nobody knows why. No, this is the reason why. It's because he did that, and that's what that kind of connection, especially when you're referring back to older movies, that's what you need to have. And Justice League, the theatrical cut didn't do that, and that's what it left a lot of questions for me. So that's why I'm really excited about this movie, because I feel like it's going to fill a lot of the pieces that were missing with the other movie.
And what I hope it does too is that it, everybody says that this one is going to be part of its own canon or whatever, but I really do hope that Warner Brothers sees the vision and really is like, you know what, we got to keep this going. Because honestly, when you leave Zack Snyder alone, like look at Watchmen. Watchmen was dope,
bro.
When you look at 300 was dope. You know what I'm saying? When you let this guy do what he does best, visually, story-wise, like, yo, man, he comes up with some great stuff. So
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you. So let me. I know we kind of went off on a little thing here, but so just to bring it back. So just to get the people to understand how we got here. So after the theatrical cut came out, there was a fan outcry to hashtag release the Snyder Cut, because we just knew that what we saw on his first two installments of these films and what we got, even if you were entertained by it, as was I, and my kids love the theatrical cut. Like we still watch it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the more I watch it, is the more glaring it becomes. As far as the continuity, but I still watch it, but I still wanted to know what exactly he had planned. So fans for years and years and years, we're talking about from the year it came out in November of 2017 until 2019, there was a fan outcry to release the Snyder Cut. Anytime Warner Brothers posted anything about any movie on Twitter, Zack Snyder fans would go underneath the comment section and put hashtag release the Snyder Cut. It upset a lot of people. It upset a lot of bloggers who don't like Zack Snyder. It upset a lot of critics who don't like him. They started calling people toxic. Now, granted, there are some dudes out there that just went way too far, in the name of Snyder. And that's kind of stuff that we don't condone. Like, you can disagree with people all you want about Snyder, but, don't be calling. Now, mind you, I've been called certain names because I'm a lot more active on Twitter than y'all. I've been called some names for liking Zack Snyder. I can't even repeat here. But the fact of the matter is, we just wanted to see what his vision was, whether we like it or not. I know we will, but I'm just saying, just so that you can have a fair, we can see what was happening. So after that happened, apparently behind the scenes, Warner Brothers took notice of it, because the 2-year anniversary of the theatrical cut, there was literally 1 million tweets that day. I don't know if y'all remember, we were at Auntie Mackie's house when she invited the praise team over for dinner.
Yeah, I remember.
That was the day that it really took off. So they took notice of it, and then they called Zach in and said, "Hey, listen, there's an outcry for this." And this is when HBO Max was just starting out. And you got to remember, we're in a streaming age now. So you need original content if you want your streaming services to be good. The reason why Disney Plus is so great, they have a lot of old stuff on there, but right now you have The Mandalorian, you have WandaVision, and then you have Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's what people are looking forward to, because they have original content, right? So they needed something that they knew fans wanted. Now they have some great, original stuff, but it's not something that fans are clamoring for. So they brought him in and said, "Hey, look, there's an outcry for this. We have a streaming service that needs some original content. Would you be interested in doing this?" And he said yes. So then on May 20th of 2020, last year, he did a live watch party of Man of Steel. And then at the end, that's when he, dropped that massive bomb that, hey, we're releasing the Snyder Cut in spring of 2021. And here we're only, less than a week away from it. And I'm excited. Like I said, I'm going through my Twitter feed now. They're releasing social media embargoes, and even people who don't like his stuff are saying, "Man, I haven't been a Zack Snyder fan, but this is a massive improvement." I'm literally looking at it right now as I'm talking to you guys. So it seems that a lot of people, even those who really don't like his films, are like, I still give it a 7 out of 10. Now, y'all got to understand, if a critic who hates Zack Snyder gives his film a 7 out of 10, the movie is good.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good. Like for me, like I said, Man of Steel is my favorite movie, but I know it wasn't for everybody. I love BVS, but again, I get that other people don't like it, but that's stuff that we just love. So seeing people who have been clowning his movie for years be like, it was pretty solid. I'm like, yo, I'll take that from a person who hates his movies.
Right.
I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
So let me ask you both. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, this is what I was gonna say at the beginning. So it drops on March 18th on HBO Max. I think at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This is what I was going to say earlier. I already told my wife that when I wake up and go downstairs at 3 o'clock in the morning, just know that I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. It's not that I can't. Well, it is that I can't sleep, but ain't nothing wrong with me. I bought a pair of headphones. I bought a long headphone jack so I can sit on the couch and watch it. So I'm gonna be up because it's a 4-hour movie. They were going to release it in 4 parts weekly, but I think contractually, with the actors, they signed on for a movie and not a quote unquote series. So they had to release it as a movie. Okay. So, and I know I got to help the kids with school and blah, blah, blah. So I'm getting up super early. I'm going to try to watch the whole 4 hours before everybody wake up. But I'm just excited, man. So sorry, go ahead, bro. You were about to say something. I had to get that last bit in there.
Oh no, no worries, no worries. I just wanted, I mean, I know we get ready to wrap it up, but I just want to ask you both, what concerns you the most about this movie that will make it flop? Which on me personally, I don't see how it could flop in a way
Mhm.
because of what, but what is something that you think that okay, if this happens, it may flop. It may not be like after you watch it, it's like, wow, that was a big disappointment. Like, what
Right.
concerns you the most?
I think, like I said before, as I said, I think mostly it's the critics. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are going to be people, and this can be said for both sides. You know, there are going to be people who love his movies, no matter what, whatever.
Right.
Like me, I'm pretty sure because of my track record of liking his film, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this one. But then you have people who are just spiteful because, as I said before, you have some people that were just against this film coming out at all. And my biggest concern is that and it's people who have a large following who are going to try to downplay this film, who are going to try to say it's trash. Like, even though the stuff I'm seeing now, it's saying that a lot of people are liking it, but just for the most part, I think that it's going to be that's going to be the biggest thing is critical reception. Because remember, BVS had a huge opening weekend, but because of negative word of mouth, it had like a 70% drop. The next weekend, which is like one of the biggest drops in movie history because of the word of mouth. So, but here's the thing though, because it's not being released in theaters, it's on HBO Max. Even if they hate watch it, it's gonna go in as a view, which is why I don't see it flopping at all. Because you have people that are gonna watch it just to talk trash about it, but HBO Max don't know that. They
Right.
just see a view. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And then most of Snyder fans are overseas, and when you think about any box office draw, any movie that makes a bunch of money at the box office, their
So
biggest
overseas.
draw is usually
Overseas.
overseas. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So and HBO Max is only in the US. So what Zack Snyder fought to do was he fought for different overseas streaming services to put the movie on there so now fans around the world can see it. So again, there's a slight chance that it might flop, but it's I don't see it happening. But if it does, it will be because of that, because of people who just didn't like his movies before and just have a crusade against it. So what say you, Mr. Roman, Mr.
Yeah.
Rome?
If Zach is able to get his full story, the story that he wants to tell out there, then I don't see it flopping. The only way for me that it becomes a flop if there's gaps to where people are like, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on or what is, what I'm saying? Like if it's not fully developed in terms of the story, the continuity, everything. Like if it doesn't make sense in whole, then okay, maybe a
Right.
flop. But other than that, if he gets his full story out there, his vision, what he wanted, you know what I'm saying? I don't see the flop at all.
Okay.
Even
Yeah.
even if people come in and say they dislike it and stuff like that, nah. If the amount of people who were tweeting and were hashtagging release Snyder Cut, yeah, I don't see that happening. There's too many
Right.
people who are anticipating and
Absolutely.
want to see
Like,
his
wait,
full
bro, when I tell
story.
you, like, this thing has been trending on Twitter for the past 2 weeks, man. Like, I think this is probably like the biggest comic book movie and anticipation of this year. I mean, I won't say ever because like with Avengers Endgame that just came out,
Yeah,
that was a 10. But that's the thing, that was a 10-year buildup for that
Right.
moment. This is half the time,
After
and
time,
it's
right?
still So yeah, man, I think yeah.
I mean, if you think about even the way between us three, we've spoken about this and been messaging about this or whatever it is, texting, WhatsApp, or whatever. All that we've been doing over the past few weeks in anticipation to this movie, and like you said, I think I don't think it's gonna flop. Like I said earlier, and even if there are small gaps, I don't mind the small gaps
Yeah.
if you're leaving room for a
yeah. If they
possible
expand it, I'll be so
extra.
happy if they
Right,
expand
Yeah.
it.
right. So I wouldn't
And there
mind
was another hashtag restore the Snyderverse
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
trending a few days
I
ago
saw
too.
that.
So
I saw
go
yeah,
ahead.
that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, I wouldn't even mind the gaps if it's gonna kind of push you to say, okay, well, there could be another movie or there needs to be another movie. Um, you know, so I don't mind the gaps. That's the only way. It doesn't feel like an incomplete story. So in a way, you could close off the story, but leave some room for if you want to expand it a little bit more or go into a part two. And
Mm-hmm.
then if and depending on how successful this is, Warner Brothers may say, hey, look, man, this thing is take it off. We got to do another one because the people are clamoring for it. and this was great. And then this time we'll leave you alone. We won't do anything because we see that we leave you alone, and you gave the people what they want. The people asked for it. You gave the people what they want, and people happy and they want more. And that's the only way WB can do it, because if they do it that way, it'll help their pockets too. But just from experience, like you said, when he's left alone, like you said, Danny, when he's left alone, when Zack Snyder's left alone, he produces some really, really quality movies. So I'm excited. I can't wait till Thursday.
Me too.
And y'all gonna see.
Like I said,
what?
No, I'm just saying I'm gonna be up at the crack of dawn, even before dawn. I'm gonna be up watching this, man. I don't drink coffee that early in the morning, but Lord knows I'm gonna get that pot brewing and I'm going in.
And like I said, I'm telling everybody, look, you guys follow us, watch, like,
join the conversation.
You're gonna be seeing posts from the Movie Match trio that you have here. You're gonna be seeing different things throughout the week that we're posting in anticipation of this movie. You're gonna see some reactions. You're gonna see different things, and once we all watch it and able to get our thoughts together, we're gonna start, producing and putting together episode 2, which is gonna be solely about this Justice League movie. So
bro, we got so much to talk about.
It's gonna be a lot to talk about. We have to dedicate an entire show just to this movie because it's gonna be pretty intense. I mean, I really hope you all enjoyed this first episode. I know we went through a lot, and I mean, this was fun. I love talking about movies, and this is what we do normally. Because you guys are having a candid look, a front row seat into what we do. Literally, pretty much every
for the past 20 years,
at least. This is what we do, and we want you all to be a part of the Movie Match family. Look, like we said earlier, please subscribe, like, follow us, and comment. We want you to be part of the Movie Match family. We want to talk to you. We want the Movie Match family to be huge, and that we all can talk to each other about these movies that are coming out. It's not like we can, sit in a studio and talk, with COVID and everything. We have to do things virtually. And so we would love to engage with you, go back and forth. Believe me, I keep my phone on me and I'm always looking. So between myself, between Jay, between Dan, we love to comment and go back and forth with you and talk about these movies. And like we said, hey, we would love, if we have a nice little discussion, we may say, hey, look, man, look, lady, whoever you are, hey, let's organize a time and let's come on our show. We could talk a little bit more about it. We just want to hear from you. Once again, we appreciate you tuning in and watching the video with us, watching this first episode, and we're super excited.
I'm sorry, y'all. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. I'm just excited that we actually doing it, man.
Yeah.
So I'm here sweating.
Exactly. The lights, everything is on, but we're just so excited that we're able to do this, and this is fun, man. We wouldn't be any other place but right here and doing this with you. So, you guys have anything else to say to people?
No, y'all, it was a good episode. Talking with everybody. Don't forget to comment so that we can expand this conversation later on. Hope to see you in the chat box.
Like, subscribe, share it, hit the notification bell, guys. That's the most important thing. So anytime we post anything, you will be notified. Boom.
There we go. So once again, we thank you for tuning in, and we'll see y'all the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
Boom.